All right. So you guys remember, or hopefully you remember from yesterday, that we looked at how to calculate the percent of change. So we take this equation and we look at our example, and we have to figure out the larger amount, the smaller amount, and the original amount before we can plug them in. Okay? So we're going to take the larger amount minus the smaller amount, and we'll divide that by the original amount and then multiply that number by 100. Okay? So in this first example, we took 625 minus 525 and got a dollar. Divided it by 525 and multiplied by 100, which would give us 19.05%. And that was an increase. Okay? So let's do another example. Okay, if I started teaching, shouldn't be using that sharpener. All right, so this one says, or it's asking, 20 is what percent more than 15? Okay, so if it's asking what percent more than 15, do we think this is going to be a increase or decrease? I think it's going to be an increase. Okay? All right, so we need to write in our equation, we need to write the larger number minus the smaller number. So I'm going to write 20 minus 15. And what's my original number?
20. 15. No, 15.
It's 15 because it says 20 is what percent more than 15. So we started at 15 and we're going up to 20. We're increasing to 20. So our original is 15. And then we know we multiply all of that times 100. Okay? So 20 minus 15 would give us 5 over 15 times 100. And if we multiply that out, our final answer should be what?
33.33 repeated. No.
Yeah.
33.3 repeated. No.
Remember, we're going to the nearest hundredth. So I would write that as 33.33 repeating percent. And was this a increase or decrease? Was this increase or decrease? That was an increase. Okay? That should have been pretty familiar. All right, let's flip to the backs. All right, so in this example, we did the same thing, went through the same process, but we were looking at the percent of decrease. Okay? So let's look at another example. All right, so this one asks 8 is what percent less than 10? Eight is what percent less than 10? All right, so this top part's pretty easy. We just do the larger number minus the smaller number. So I would write 10 minus 8. What's my original amount in this one?
15.
Yeah, because it's asking 8 is what percent less than 10. So we started with 10, and we're going to increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Down to 8. Okay, so our original amount was 10. And we're going to multiply all that times 100. So that would give me 2 over 10 times 100, which should equal what?
20% less.
It's a 20% decrease. So that question would be answered as 8 is 20% less than 10. Okay? So that should just be a little refresher from what we did yesterday. Now, there's another application to this where we're going to be given the original amount, and then it's going to tell you by what percent it will increase or decrease, so you have to find the new amount. So let's look at one of those. All right, so if we started with 56, let's say we start with 56, and we are going to increase that number by 25%. So now you want to find the new amount. Okay, so when we're solving this, the first thing we need to do is find what is 25% of 56. Okay? Now you can use the proportion, but there was another way that we could find the percent, or find 25% of 56 that might be a little bit easier. What was that, Daniel? Yeah, so that's what I was looking for. We want to change the percent to a decimal, and then we just multiply that times 56. And when we do that, what should we get? 14. We should get 14. Okay, now we started at 56, and it said that we are going to increase that by 25%. So how do I know what my new amount is going to be? Sandy? We're not going to multiply. James? You do. You take 56 and you add 14. Because if we're increasing by 25%, that means we took 25% of 56 and we added it onto 56. So 56 plus 14 would give me what?
70.
70. So that would be my new amount. We started at 56 and it increased by 25% to give us 70. All right, let's try another one. Let's say that you start with 8, and we're going to increase by 75%. So what's the first thing I need to find out?
What is 75% of 8?
Yeah, I need to find out what 75% of 8 actually is. And how did I do that?
75% is good at 4 multiplied by 8.
And if I multiply 75% times 8, what does that give me?
6.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now how am I going to find my new amount, Jonathan? Yeah, we take our original and we add the amount that we increased it by. So what will we get? We get 14. Okay. Pretty easy. Daniel, you have a question? Okay. have you show that to me later so I can make sure we're on the same page, okay? Okay, good. All right, now let's do a couple more examples. So instead of increasing, we're going to decrease. Okay? So for this one, why don't we start with 50? And let's decrease it by 30%. Okay, so we're going to start this the same way. We need to find 30% of 50. So in order to do that, we do what, Asia? Well, before we can do that, we have to find 30% of 50. So how do I do that? We turn 30% into a decimal. So we get 0.30, and then we do what? We multiply it by 50, right? Okay, when we do that, what do we get? 15. All right, so let me ask you. Before, we were increasing by a certain percent to find our new amount, but now we're decreasing. So how am I going to find my new amount now? Yeah, instead of adding, we're going to subtract. So I'm going to take 50 minus 15 because we're decreasing by 30%. So we've got to take that 30% away. And what will that give me? So your new amount would be 35. All right, let's do another one. Let's say we start with 40, and we're going to decrease by 15%. So I need to figure out what my new amount is going to be. Okay, so Sadie, what's the first thing I need to find out? Before I do that, I have to find out what is 15% of 40, right? That's what I've got to look for first. Okay? So now what do I do? Yep, and what do I get? Should get 6. Okay, now how do I find my new amount? James? Yeah, so I would take 40 minus 6, and that would give me 34. Okay. Thumbs up, sideways, or thumbs down on how we're feeling about that.